Okay. Well, thank you for coming. It's great to be back in Clovis. I was at the Tulare Ag Show today, the largest in the world. We brought 10 members, bipartisan. We had a kind of a town hall meeting, but more focused on the Farm Bill. These were members that are part of the Ag Committee. We brought the chairman, G.T. Thomas, from Pennsylvania out. Spent like 2 hours talking about the things that we'd like to see in the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill is only moved once every 5 years, so we'll be moving that bill this year. But having been elected Speaker, we've got a lot of work under our belt already. We created the new Select Committee on China. We've got 146 Democrats to join with us. We repealed 87,000 IRS agents on the first day out of Congress, moved that over to the Senate. We stopped the president from passing a bill from the SPRO, selling our strategic petroleum oil reserves to China as well. We've been able to move a number of bills. We've recently moved a bill out of the House for the federal employees to come back to work, like employees across this country have. 47% of federal employees are still out of work. We need them back in working as we go. And we've got a number of different bills moving forward as the committees get together. But I wanted to come back into Clovis, listen to, we had a number of farmers, we had a bunch of community leaders from education, from elected officials, from DA, police, and fire as well, to listen to their concerns and challenges of what's moving forward throughout the Central Valley that we can work on and focus on. With that, let me stop and take your questions and comments.
Mr. Speaker, the
yes.
concern in the valley is right now is China, balloons, whatever is up there. Can you give us any kind of encouraging words to calm the nation down?
Well, I think the encouraging word first and foremost is now that I think the decision to wait to allow the balloon to fly over the continental U.S. was wrong. I think we should have made a decision to take that balloon down earlier. We're collecting the data off it now so we can have an understanding of how it works and what they have been doing. I think it just goes to show how far China wants to go in this process. I think even before the balloon, in Congress, we created the Select Committee on China, where Republicans and Democrats can speak together with one voice. I'm concerned about the balloon, but I'm also concerned about China, America being dependent on China in a number of industries, from critical minerals, from medical supplies, from pharmaceuticals and others. I don't think America should be dependent on China in any different industry. And I think if we can work together and speak with one voice, we'll make sure that we're stronger. We need to protect the sovereignty of this nation. That means air and also means border. This Thursday, I'll be going to Tucson, Arizona, taking a number of freshmen with me as well. We don't have control of our operational borders. Right now, a number of people from China are coming across our borders. We're catching a number of people on the terrorist watch list coming across that border. But one of the worst things that's happening is the fentanyl is coming into America and killing Americans. More than 300 Americans will be poisoned today and die. These chemicals start in China, and tomorrow there'll be 300 more. And it's the #1 killer of Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. Those are your most productive years. Those are the years that you reproduce. Those are the age group that if America ever goes to defend itself, those are the ones who fight the battles to defend us. So it's very disturbing to me that this continues, and I think it all starts within China, and we need to stop it as well.
Mr. Speaker,
yes.
You're really hitting on China there. We haven't really known where those other flying objects have come from. Are you confident they're all from China?
I'm not confident they're all from China, but the largest balloon that had the ability to go over our military defense locations, as large as 3 buses, that was from China. China actually said it was from. We don't know about these other ones. We don't know exactly what they are. I've been in communications with the White House. We haven't been able to retrieve them yet. Because of the one coming across from China, recalibration, we're looking at more things. These could not be from China. These could end up being used by an education system. We just don't know yet, but we'll find out what they are.
Mr. Speaker, now that you represent Fresno and Clovis, what are you doing to bring the money, to bring the infrastructure dollars and all the other dollars that the residents of District 20 expect the Congressman to bring in? Now you're staffed as Speaker, does that mean more money for this area?
Well, I think the first thing this area wants is a government that's an efficient, effective, and held accountable. I don't think their answer is just bring me money. They want to see solutions. And the interesting thing, if I compare Fresno to Clovis just in the school district, Fresno has more money, but the school district of Clovis with less money goes further. Their test scores are higher. Both communities are concerned about crime. So they want to find, how do we find solutions to this? So the answer is not always first bring me money, it's to solve a problem. And the uniqueness with the Valley is they will sit down and talk. So the things that you asked me the question, what am I doing? I'm sitting and listening. I'm sitting and listening and trying to collaborate together to find the solutions. And when we find the solutions, we'll find the resources to solve them. But it's just not an issue about money solves problems.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
the debate about the debt ceiling.
Yes.
Republicans, you said that there were certain things that are off the table, defense. Where do you expect the cuts to come?
No, I think the thing that Republicans have said is Medicare and Social Security. Unfortunately, the president continues to drag his feet when it comes to the debt ceiling. And for all your viewers, what you really have to understand is we're now at a $31 trillion debt. What does that mean to you? Well, that means our debt is larger than our economy by 20%. The only time we've been at a percent to GDP like this, it was in World War II, when we were using and borrowing to save our nation and save the world. The challenge today is when the last debt ceiling was the largest debt ceiling ever lifted and spent it as fast as can be. So what does it really mean? It's like giving your child a credit card and they spin the credit card to the limit. You're responsible to pay for it. So yes, we're responsible for our debt. But do you automatically raise the limit on the credit card for your children? Or do you look at where you're spending the money and change the behavior? So when I've sat down with the president, I think the way our whole government is designed, you've got to have compromise. I actually think we should spend less because if you look at the revenues coming into government, it's the highest it's ever been in the history of America. And it's not just high in dollar value, percentages why. It's 20%. It's higher than it's been in decades. So it's not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem. And if you look back just 4 years when Democrats were in power in Congress, they increased discretionary spending by 30%. So it's fair to look at the 8 years before that when Republicans were in the majority. Well, in those 8 years, Republicans increased discretionary spending by 0. They actually decreased it by $10 billion. So how did we get to this problem? Well, you had one-party control. They spent more money than any given time. And when you look going forward, the Congressional Budget Office is going to come out, and right now they're telling us in the next 10 years, we'll have to pay $8 trillion just in interest. So the interest payment could actually become the most expensive payment America has. So they used a credit card with never changing and just increasing the debt. So the president is asking us just to increase the debt limit and do nothing else. Just make a clean debt ceiling. Well, no family lives that way. No business lives that way. And our state can't live that way. So I don't believe the federal government should live that way. So I think we could come together, find places that we can end waste in government, pay our debt, but put us on our path to have a balanced budget. That would be important.
Why is it always Social Security that's brought up in terms of costing too much? It's a system that we all pay into, which if it gets cut, then I'm not going to see any of this money that I put in over my lifetime of work.
Well, the good question there is you asked why it's brought up. The only reason I brought it up is to tell you it's off the table, so it's not brought up. The only person who's playing politics right now is with the president. He's putting in jeopardy our economic future. One, by spending too much money. He's added to this debt and the Democrats by almost $10 trillion. Then what you find is he's placating and playing politics with Social Security and Medicare. When I look back at the president's history in elected office, he actually wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare as a senator. He brags about it. He, as a senator, voted against the debt ceiling. And his comments of why he voted against the debt ceiling was that he was so mad at the policies that brought us to that debt. Well, I don't know why he's not mad now. And in 2011, the talks for a debt ceiling negotiation were called the Biden negotiations. And now he's changed everything around and thinks nobody should negotiate, just raise the debt ceiling. And what that means is all of us have to pay more. And now he's asking for higher taxes. Well, I don't think that's the solution. We have more revenue than any time into government, so you don't need more taxes. You don't need more revenue. It's how you're spending it. And I think it's fair that people from both sides of the aisle come together and find ways that they can eliminate the waste, the fraud, and abuse while protecting Social Security and Medicare, and as I say, it's off the table.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
obviously, focus of the ruckus that we saw at the State of the Union. Some of your Republican colleagues shouting that the president was a liar. You were sitting behind him for the first time, and you kind of settle down, settle down. Have you been able to, for those that didn't want you to become Speaker in your home party, have you been able to bridge that rift?
Oh, very much so. I think if you look at those that wanted to vote different a number of times, Matt Gaetz has given me an A for my job as Speaker right now. So, yeah, I think those debates are healthy. We're not afraid of having those debates, and it's healthy that you had it at the beginning, not at the end. The interesting part when you talk about Republicans' frustration, the frustration was that here's the President of the United States, where Republicans have said those issues are off the table, literally lying to the American public. So naturally they were frustrated. Don't lie about what you say. And if you watched, it seems that the president was goading people. He wanted to play politics with it. Look, I don't rip up a speech. I respect people who get elected to office. I respect this president, and I think he should show respect to the American public. Let's not lie about different people's position. Let's actually work together to solve a problem. Playing politics is not the place to go.
But did they disrespect him while he was making that?
I think the frustration they found is the president saying something that he knowingly knew was not true, that he heard it from me just a few days before, that he watched us on the news. It was purely a political move, and I just think at that moment in time in the State of the Union, let's not play politics. Let's give the American public more respect than that, and let's just talk about the problems.
Should Joe Biden be impeached?
For what reason? Well, you're the one bringing it up, not me.
Mr. Speaker, then what's the future of bipartisan legislation? Do you think he can still work with the president and the Democrats for things like the infrastructure bill and the budget and other things that'll benefit the public?
The answer, yeah. Government is designed that you have to work together. And just to sit back and look, the Republicans are in the majority in the House, the Democrats have the majority in the Senate, and there's a Democrat sitting at the presidency. So yes, anything you move, you're going to have to work together on. And I've sat back and I said I can work with anybody. And if you've watched what has happened, compare the House to the Senate or to the White House. The House is the only place where we've moved bipartisan legislation. We just had a unanimous vote against the CCP of China on the balloon, where every single Republican and every single Democrat voted. We just had a bipartisan vote to say that the Democrats in D.C. that want to decriminalize even murder and carjacking, that 31 Democrats joined with us. We just had 40 Democrats join with us that just told D.C. Democrats who voted to let illegals vote in elections. That means you can be a member of the Communist Party working at the consulate of the embassy of China and vote in America in the D.C. politics. I think that's wrong. I think the Democratic Party's wrong. So I also watched 100 Democrats vote against the majority of those in Congress who wouldn't denounce socialism. They think socialism is good. So I'm not going to say that all the Democrats are going to be with us, but what I do know, some of their policies are so far out that they believe in socialism, that the Democrats believe that illegal people here that can belong to the Communist Party can vote in elections. I think that's wrong. I do believe that Democrats, when they think they want to hire 87,000 new IRS agents, and put that in perspective, there's only 80,000 now, to go after Americans, I think that's wrong. That's where we differ. So we're going to differ in a lot of places, but there's other places that I think we can find common ground.
Mr. Speaker, you promised investigations against the president for Afghanistan. You promised investigations for Hunter Biden when campaigning for the speakership. Will you make those promises?
Well, just to clarify, what I promise is not an investigation against the president of Afghanistan, an investigation for the American people, investigation for the 13 Gold Star families. So that would never happen again. That is starting now. We've also believed in the investigation about the national security. China's funding of the Biden Penn Center. I mean, we've watched a lot of these things go on. We've watched a national security team tell us that a Hunter Biden laptop was false. We now know that none of that is true. So I think what you really want in government is a check and balance. You want accountability, and you want honesty. You want to make sure from a national security level that China is able to buy part of the American government. And I think we don't predetermine what that outcome will be. We don't predetermine who can sit on those committees. The Democrats can appoint whoever they want. That's something much different than the past speaker would ever allow. We just want the truth to come out for the American public wherever it goes. Because I think You want your government honest, open, and accountable.
How do you solve the George Santos problem?
Well, I think, what do you think the problem is?
You have a representative that nobody has no credibility.
You have a representative that got elected by the American public, and you have to hold them accountable. I cannot pick and choose and say, I dislike you even though the American public voted for you. If I did that, and if you say because someone lied, should Eric Swalwell stay in office? He had a relationship with a Chinese spy. Should Adam Schiff stay in office, where he lied to the American public numerous times in a position of being an intel chair as all? So, no, I think what you have to do is you have to have due process. For Mr. Santos, what I believe is responsible as the leader of Republicans, he's not on any committee. He did not get classified briefing. The Ethics Committee will look at the different questions, and if there is a problem, and if someone holds, I'd hold anybody to this standard that's sitting in Congress as well, then we'd take action. But before that, you can't. Yes?
Mr. Speaker, you got to spend the afternoon with all of these local agencies, local leaders, and it's not every day they get to have your ear. What did you learn from them today about the needs here?
Well, you know, I've learned a lot, especially what we hear up and down the valley, the fentanyl damage that it's doing to our young children. And the frustration of the growing homelessness and others, and actions that the state has taken to propel these problems. What could we on a federal level and locally work together to solve, right? We've talked to police as well, looking for cop grants, being able, here's Clovis, one of the safest communities in the valley, but how do they maintain that? They don't have a large police force. How do we maintain on cop grants and others? We talked about foster care in here. We talked about the education system, what community colleges could do, and working with Fresno State at the same time for retraining as well. So there's a lot of issues here that we can work together to bring the synergy to find the solutions that most of us crave. A lot, we talk about the high energy costs. Some of these are state problems driven by Gavin Newsom and others, a water challenge that we have. Here we have the most plentiful land. I mean, California is the #1 ag state in the entire nation. I feel very blessed that I get to represent Kern, Tulare, and Fresno County, the 3 top ag counties in California. And here we are, the challenge where we are blessed, God has blessed us with a wonderful winter, with snow-packed mountains. And we watch the policies of the state let this water run out to the ocean. When we go through these droughts and we have these communities striving for water and having land go fallow because they can't produce, why would we waste that? So we sat and talked about ways that we can harness that. Many times we've worked to try to have the storage that Gavin Newsom has stopped us to be able to bank this water during these wet years, but it's inconceivable that you would let millions of acre feet of fresh water go out to the ocean and not bring it down through the valley and let us store it and use it to the reasons why we know that God provided it to us. So thank you all very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to continuing the relationship and building with answering your questions. Thank you all very much.